Welcome back to another episode of How to Burn Money Like a Billionaire. Today we're looking at the absolute pinnacle of luxury, a 2023 Rolls-Royce Ghost Black Badge. This car costs nearly $500,000, but this specific Ghost, it tried to fight a palm tree and lost. Before we even touch a wrench, let's talk about this paint. It's not just black, it's a deep metallic void that takes 45 kilograms of paint and 7 days in the factory to perfect. And that signature coach line, a guy draws that by hand. One mistake and he's probably fired. This car has 44-layer carbon fiber wheels exclusive to the Black Badge, and they were absolutely shredded. The famous Spirit of Ecstasy statue, missing, probably ran away in shame after seeing what the owner did to the front end. Rolls-Royce is so obsessed with silence that they had to reduce the insulation in this model. Why? Because the previous one was so quiet it caused passengers to feel dizzy or get ear-ringing from the lack of sound. It was haunted house quiet. Under the hood is a 6.75-litre twin-turbo V12 pushing 590 horsepower and 900 Newton-meters of torque. But right now, it's a giant paperweight because the Pyro Fuse exploded. This fuse is a safety device that literally blows up to cut power during a crash. To get this thing to even click, the team had to use 6 chargers at once and bypass the security system. It's like trying to wake up a royal guard during a nap. The trunk was locked tight, no power, no entry. The team spent 6 hours trying to break in. They finally used a tiny camera and a long wire to pull the emergency handle through a hole under the rear seats. And what did they find? A $490,000 window sticker, crystal glasses that they thought were stolen but were just hiding, and a very expensive dust mop. The rear seat system alone cost $20,000. The umbrellas in the doors, $2,000 for a pair. Even the leather-covered pillar trims are $1,500 each. When the airbags blew, they wrinkled the leather on the pillars. Instead of spending $3,000 on new ones, the team used a heat gun and steam to massage the leather back to life. That's $3,000 saved with a hairdryer. Take notes, people. Now let's get technical. This chassis isn't welded like a normal car. It's held together by high-tech bond chemicals and special rivets. The shock tower was pushed back and twisted. Replacing this part cost $5,000 just for the metal. The aluminum chassis is a one-way street. If you pull it wrong, it snaps. They had to use a hydraulic puller and measure everything to the millimeter. One of the guys even had to weld while hanging upside down to reach the tight spots behind the brake lines. They almost had to pull the entire V12 engine just to reach a single weld point. It's like performing brain surgery through a keyhole. They found cotton-like insulation inside the doors that looked like it belonged in a pillow factory. And the dashboard? It's diamond technical carbon, a patent exclusive to Rolls-Royce. You can't buy this on eBay. The team discovered that the ABS module was smashed and 5 critical wires were severed. Instead of buying a new $10,000 wiring harness, they did some pro-level soldering. They also bought a replacement Spirit of Ecstasy mechanism to make sure the statue can hide and reappear on command. Because what's a Rolls-Royce if you can't show off your retractable silver lady? Finally, the moment of truth. After bypassing the Pyro Fuse and fixing the chassis, they fired up the V12. It was so quiet they had to check if it was actually running. 3,000 miles on the clock. This car is basically brand new and already a survivor. Rebuilding a Rolls-Royce Ghost is 10% mechanics and 90% financial insanity. Joe and the team saved a masterpiece from the scrap heap, but at what cost? Thousands in parts, hundreds of hours in labor, and probably a few gray hairs. The lessons: 1. If you can afford the car, you can afford a driver who won't hit a tree. 2. Don't lose the crystal glasses. They're in the trunk. 3. Aluminum doesn't forgive, and neither does a $5,000 shock tower. Stay tuned for part 2, where we see if the paint job lives up to the 7-day factory standard. Until then, keep your tires on the road and your umbrellas in the door. Cheers! Is it possible to restore the Spirit of Ecstasy to its former glory? Or is this $500,000 ghost car destined for scrap? Watch the epic rebuild process video to the end now.